It's 7 o'clock. We'll get started here. We got some business to take care of before we get the presentation going from Ned. Oh, Pat's coming back.
I had to go take care of a thing.
Okay, not a problem, sir. So we got enough people.
No, we don't have a quorum.
Okay, how many are we short?
We're short 8.
8. Okay. So we got 21 members so far. So what I'll do is we'll go over. So we can't vote on either one right now at this point. We'll just go over a couple of things really quick and see if more people show up in the next couple of minutes. If not, then we will have to postpone this till next month.
Yep.
Not much we can do.
Yeah.
For our bylaws.
My screen says 26 squares. There's 26 participants, and we're 2 makes 27.
Yeah, we have a couple people that can only vote once and things like that per the bylaws.
They have to be members of the club.
Yeah, you have to be a member to vote.
Yep.
Sorry,
But
Ned.
I think we're 8 short.
So, well,
Maybe 9.
yeah, Steve says we showed 21 members so far, but keep count, you guys. Really quick, we'll go over some things. Again, we were supposed to do voting this evening for bylaws, which everybody should have got a copy of from Pat. And for the board, per our bylaws, we have to have a quorum based on membership, and we have not met that criteria. So as of right now, you're still stuck with the same board, and you'll probably be stuck with it anyways, because I think nobody else stepped up and wanted to run for a position. So, and we all said we would run again for our position. So,
yeah.
Somebody's got something running in the background there. Oh, you can put yourself on mute. Who's got a radio going on in the background?
Hey, Chuck, looks like it's Jerry, OUW.
We'll mute him. There, I just muted Jerry. Okay,
Perfect.
good.
When were
Thanks,
copies
Jerry.
of the bylaws sent out?
Pat sent them out a couple of weeks ago.
I don't think I ever got them.
Chuck, I didn't get one either.
I may or may not have. I get so much email on a daily basis. I may not have received it either. I think the last email I got was email about the splatter being published.
All right, we'll look at that and get them sent out to everybody again, because again, we don't have. September 3rd, they were sent out from what I got on my chat. So check your boxes. Go ahead,
I
Pat.
used the list you sent me, Chuck.
Okay. And there should also links on the webpage for them as well. If not, I'll go ahead and send it out to everybody again tomorrow with a bunch of other announcements, like the picnic this Saturday with Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club. If you can come out to that, there'll be an address for that. Come out and let's go eat their food. Joe's cooking. So.
No,
What?
Darren is cooking.
I cooked for our event. Why can't you cook?
Because I'd kill him.
So, but yeah, and I want to say thank you, Joe, because one of the things that me and Joe have done is we got together and we built a kind of a strategic partnership between the two clubs, because we both believe that clubs shouldn't be siloed. We need to work together. We all have a common cause. So they got invited to our radio in a park. About 10 or 11 of your club members came out. Your vice chair did show up after you left, by the way, Joe. So
Good. I didn't know that.
yeah. So you can't give him grief. You can give the rest of the board grief.
I already did.
So, come out, meet some new folks. It's a good time. Theirs is not as formal as kind of ours was. We had a couple radios set up, trying to make contacts, things like that. People were asking questions. You can still have questions and stuff, but it's a good way to socialize and meet other club members and see what's going on with their club, things like that, and learn some different things. Who's got a puppy? Somebody got a puppy? They can
I don't.
for me, so they can mute for me. I heard a puppy in the background, but that's okay. Another thing I wanted to bring up, again, we're doing it virtual this month because we decided, one, we couldn't get into the room to get it set up for Zoom and this, and two, because of COVID still on the, well, it's not so much on the uptake as it was, but still coming up. We decided we'd wait a little bit longer, and then we'll get the room set up and we do virtual, both live and in Zoom. Trying to think what else. There's a testing session this Sunday at 350 Terry Street with the Laurel VE Patriot Group. So it's hamstudy.org to sign up for it. There's a link on the website if you'd like to test and get your next ticket, or if you know somebody that wants to go get a ticket, sign up for it. I think there's the first session's already full, I believe, right, Kat, Brian? Or do you know yet?
There's 2 spots left in the first session at 9, and then we've got a second session after that if that one
Okay.
fills up.
Okay. And they and then that way there's time slots, you don't have to sit there and wait and things like that. So it's a they Kat and Brian, I want to thank them for doing this. They've taken this off. They pretty much run it now. The gentleman Nick, who was running it before, he still kind of supervises, but he's on the East Coast now. And these Kat and Brian just taking this like they do with their training classes and run with it and do a great job. And a lot of people show up and get their ticket or get upgraded from this. So thank you very much for all the work you do for that. Another note, LARC is updating its website. So if you're interested in helping, please contact me. I'm looking for some people to just kind of help keep content fresh. You know, basically keep it clean and things like that. The old site, this one, hopefully people will like it. It'll be a little bit more flashier. Hopefully you get the information you want. There'll be archives of stuff out there. So we'll hopefully go live with that in the next, shooting for the next 2 weeks. I was hoping to get it done sooner, but work and everything else has kind of put a damper on that one. But we're almost there. And it'll be the same website, w0uno.org. There may be, on the membership side, we got to look at that. You may have to get a new password. It'll be sent to you that you can sign in. There's going to be more capabilities on the new site. One of the things that I would like to offer our members is the opportunity to post articles or post things like if you went out and did a POTA event, you want to do a little write-up on it, or you went direct satellites and had fun doing it. Or Ramon, he did a event with Mark a couple weeks ago up at Gore Canyon and had a blast and did a great write-up on it that's in the splatter this month as well. This will give you an opportunity to showcase some of your talents as a ham radio operator to other ham radio operators. So that's one of the new benefits this new website will have. So keep an eye out for that. More information coming on that as well. I think we got 2 events coming up, Doug. The Halloween party or Halloween parade and the turkey trot.
Yeah, all the above.
You want to talk about those?
The Halloween parade, I don't have the schedule right in front of me. It's somewhere near the end of the month, and we provide support. Starts it's starts at 10 in the morning, and we gather by 4 before 9, close to 9 o'clock on Saturday morning to get our assignments. So I'll be sending an email out about 2 weeks ahead of time. What was the other one? Halloween parade. And the turkey trot's November. I don't have the date for that yet. I'll have to get a hold of it. Oh, I bet the date's out there.
Okay.
It's probably on the city website.
That's fine. As long as we know it's coming, we'll keep an eye out for it.
Yep. I sent
All right.
an email to the Niwot Grange. I have not heard back from them yet for
Okay.
December Christmas party, Christmas
All right.
dinner.
And as a reminder, as a club member, we hold a Christmas party every year. It usually comes out to what, about $10 a person, Doug, for the Christmas party?
Yes.
Usually we do a really good barbecue at the Grange in Niwot. So last year, of course, we didn't do it. This year, we're still planning on doing it. And just so everybody knows, we're trying to do what we can based on the current situation. And I was just reminded the dates for the Halloween parade and the turkey trot. Like always, thank you very much, Kat, is in Kat's wonderful splatter that she edits every month. So hopefully anything you want to know about is usually in the splatter. I think the only thing that wasn't written up that I brought up was the new website. So that'll be in the next splatter. But yeah, Kat does a good job on that and got all the information in there. So keep an eye on that. Do the poll. Kat likes the polls and the feedback. And if you have an article that you would like to put in the splatter or anything you'd like to go in the splatter as far as information for the club or looking for help or whatever, excuse me, contact Kat and she'll get that published for you as well. All right. Sorry, Doug, I cut you off a little bit. Do you got anything else?
No, I don't.
All right. Does any other board member have anything they'd like to bring up?
Just a reminder for everybody, our Shiwai HamCon, Wyoming HamCon has been canceled due to current conditions. And we're working on dates for next year. So it should be a big event next year. We'll let everybody know.
Okay.
Another year to plan.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe you don't want to tell me, but why did you guys cancel that? I got your notice. I was surprised.
Well, let's see. Number one, we were concerned about COVID, especially since a lot of our attendance would be from Colorado. And people, from Colorado tend to be a little bit more cautious. And the other reason is we actually weren't ready. The Shiwai group up here in Wyoming has not done a ham fest since 2011. So there isn't any basis for it. So we're starting for next year this Sunday, and we'll get with the planning a little better. That's just the truth. Sorry
Thanks
about that.
No, thanks for that. If you need some help, I've done quite a few of them, so I can help you if you'd like.
Are you on our email list, Joe, or?
Yeah, he's a member. Well, you mean for
You're a
Shiwai or
member?
LARC?
I got your note, I think, from somebody. I don't know if it was you that sent it or not, and I passed it on to
Oh,
our
it's-
club members.
Yeah, it was RJ. He's our president.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, well, we'll keep you informed. So Joe, you're a member of LARC, are you?
Yeah, and I'm president NCART also.
Okay, well, it'd be good to get to know you. We need to work closely together.
Sure.
I think next year's event it could be the entire section.
Oh,
So we'll
wow.
see.
So cool.
For the
Yeah, I'd be
region.
more than happy to help you guys. We've done a few of them.
Okay, well, that'd be great. I've done some of them too. It turns
good.
out Shiwai hasn't done very many.
I probably can learn from you.
Well, I've been with LARC for a while, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Anyway,
Joe,
thanks
you're
a
still
lot.
oh, thanks, Pat. And Joe, you're still planning, NCART's still planning theirs in January, right? Nothing's holding it back yet? You good?
That's all I can say. I've been in contact with the county pretty much weekly, and so far we're okay. And of course we rent out from the county too. The Thomas McKee Center out there at the ranch is a county building. So Liz and I are good friends. So we're hoping we can still have it as of right now. In fact, we're having a meeting next week on the thing. We've had 2 meetings already, so we're going ahead with it, and we'll probably open up tables probably the end of this month, if not the 1st of October.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, we're still planning ours in April as well. I met with Rebecca, who does ours out at the Boulder County Fairgrounds today. So so far they're having events in November. They're requiring the mask thing, but they're still doing events, which I think is great. Hopefully it's all clear up and we'll all be good to go come the first of the year. All right, Pat, Steve, do you have a new count for me? Are we still under the quorum, or have we hit it yet?
Yeah, we're 5 under.
5
this
under?
point.
All right, well, unfortunately, we will not be able to vote on the bylaws this month, and will not be able to vote on board members. With that said, if you'd still like to run for a board position, let us know. We'll let you throw your name in the hat for it. The current board, as I think I mentioned in the email, still would like to run to represent your club and to keep your club running. So again, if you know.
Will the
if you want
bylaws
us-
be sent out again?
We will send the bylaws out again. I will send them out, and I also sent an email saying we didn't meet the quorum, that we need people to show up for October so we can get the quorum, so we can get voted on and everything legal per the bylaws. The current bylaws, the old bylaws, there was some changes that helps limit some of this. So
You know, Chuck, I think Don still isn't getting the emails because I think everybody else got the email.
okay, is your email updated in the membership database, Don?
Well, it's been that way for about 20 years. Yeah, as far as I know, unless somebody's put another email in there for me.
Are you getting the splatter and stuff?
Yes, I get that.
Okay. You should have got this one, which is weird, because I know Kat uses the same email list out of the membership database, I assume, right, Kat? Or actually, she sends it to everybody. So not only club members get it, everybody gets it that we have in our mailing list. So
Well, I've had trouble in the past. I've not had splatter each time it went out, like 2-3 months ago, I missed a couple sessions of it.
okay,
But that
Well-
got corrected. I think Jerry corrected it.
we'll get with Jerry. He can check on the database, or get with me, Don, and I'll work on getting that fixed for you. We'll make sure you get the emails. Okay, sir?
Sounds good.
I
All
sent
right.
it to the everybody list.
Okay, which is everybody and their brother. So we got a nice long list. We like people to read the splatter. Any other board member, committee chair that would like to bring something up before we get started, and then we'll let Ned take over since we can't vote tonight.
I just wanted to mention one quick thing. You guys kind of discussed it before the meeting officially started. But RM Ham, Rocky Mountain Hams, is accepting signups for their 2021 and 2022 RM Ham University Series. There are 2 presentations scheduled for next month. One is VHF UHF DXing, and the other is radio programming with Chirp, but they've got a lot of other ones as well. If you want more information or to sign up, go to their webpage, which is rmham.org. That's Romeo Mike Hotel Alpha Mike.org, and then click on the RM Ham University link, and those sessions are free. And that's all I've got.
All right, thank you very much, Brian. And I got one more thing, and then I'm going to let you take over here, Ned. I got an email from a gentleman with B Cares, who is their, I guess, membership chair. And B Cares is looking for Rick Myers, who is their recruitment chair for B Cares. B Cares is looking for Aries members. I'll be forwarding their cover letter and their flyer out to everybody in the club here in the next, probably tomorrow, along with everything else I'm going to send out. So if you're interested in getting involved with Aries in Boulder or Broomfield County, contact Rick. You can even get a hold of Jerry. He'll help you out as well and get you involved in B Cares. I told him I joined B Cares, but I'm in Weld County, so I help Joe with R1D1 up here in Weld and Larimer County. So I think he probably appreciates that.
Don't you dare join them. I need somebody I can trust.
Well, I know I'm definitely interested. I already have, I think I have the membership application, and I've already taken IC 100 and IC 200. So I'm definitely looking into B Cares.
I'll send this information out, David. You can check it out, and if you miss
will do.
anything, you can
Will
follow
do.
up. And I'm gonna send it to everybody in the club. So
Okay.
I did tell Rick that I would mention it at our meeting tonight.
Yeah.
It sounds like, and Jerry, you can back me up. I know, like a lot of Aries groups are probably hurting for members. So also, if you're in Weld County or Larimer County, you'd like to come help Joe and us at R1D1, contact us. We'll get you hooked up, and you can join the fun up over on this side of the world as well. All right, with that said, I'd like to present our presenter, Mr. Ned Stearns, AA7A. The floor is yours, sir. So bring us your presentation, and thank you for joining us this evening.
Okay, let's see if I can pull this off. Everybody seeing my slide okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is goofy. My main computer has one of these ultra wide monitors. And if I use that to present, it'll be this letterbox thing. It'll be about 1 inch high and about, 1.5 feet long. So I have to add another monitor and create this desk space for this presentation. But I'm used to this. We're all living in the Zoom world these days. You learn all the tricks of doing it. So I'm going to talk about one of my favorite travels. I'm been a ham for 55 years or so. Got licensed when I was 11, and my main interests are weak signal work on VHF and HFDXing and contesting. And I've gone on I think that I'd lose count, about 30 dxpeditions where I either all by myself or with a gang of folks drag a lot of radios out to remote places in the world and set up shop either in a contest or for an outright dxpedition and try to work the world. And one of the kind of characteristics of some dxpeditions is that they are dxpeditions or trips to some of the most rare places in the world. And there is a list maintained by, well, at least one of them is maintained by a group called Club Log that keeps status of what countries are needed by most people that are members of the organization. And so there's in that list, there's a top 10. And the objective for many of us in the game is to try to go to as many of those in the top 10 as you can possibly go to. And my current tally is I've gone to 4 of them in my career, which is pretty good. A good friend of mine, Bob Alphin, has gone to 11 in the top 10. You might think that's funny. How can there be 11 in the top 10? Well, when he goes to them, he pulls off a huge operation and it drops out of the top 10 and he goes to another one. So my trip I'm going to talk about today is one trip to 2 islands. Actually, these two islands in the South Atlantic are both in the top 10. They're South Sandwich and South Georgia Islands. They're islands that are in the British and Arctic territory. They were involved in the Falkland Island War years ago. Some very interesting history in South Georgia specifically, where that's the actual first shots were fired in that war on the island of South Georgia. There was a number of military operations on that island. One of the famous one was actually stymied. The war fighting stopped because of the weather. And it seemed odd until, when you go there and experience it firsthand, you realize why that happens. So I'm going to talk about going to the journey to the edge. If the places we went to are not at the edge of the world, you can see it from there. Let's see if I can do this. Here we go. So this operation was managed by a group called the Intrepid DX Group. It's really a worldwide consortium of hams that attempt to activate areas in the world that are just challenging, that just either due to political or just logistics regions, very, very hard to pull off. And this trip was their very first to the Antarctic region. And Antarctic expeditions are in a class amongst themselves because the challenge of getting to these islands off of Antarctica are just enormous. The weather and the roaring 40s, where all land below 40 degrees north or south latitude, are just challenged because of the fact that essentially down that part of the globe, there's really no land masses that will stop these weather systems from just circling around Antarctica. It's just amazing how it's it's unique on the globe. There's no other place that has this sort of feature, and it makes travel down there very, very challenging. And to pull this off, the team spent years putting this together, assembling a team, and coming up with an approach. And the size of the team on these kind of expeditions is really set by 2 factors. One is the size of the boat that you can get to the island, and then how much it costs and how do you split the costs amongst the members of the team. I mean, if you and your buddy want to go down to this island, you each got to fork up a couple of $100,000. It's just not something that is done with a very small team. So the typical size for these sort of operations is 14 or 15 people, because that's the number of people that can fit in the RV Braveheart, which has been the expedition vessel of choice for the last, I don't know, almost 20 years. The Braveheart has a incredible history to it. I was really anxious to have an opportunity to go on a dxpedition on that boat, and this fell in my lap. I got a call from a good friend of mine, asked me if I would join this group, and I thought about it for 20 nanoseconds and then agreed to go. And then for the next day and a half, I sat in my chair sitting here wondering how the hell am I going to tell my wife? But she's very, very understanding and enjoys me, the fact that I'm going and she doesn't have to go. But this operation probably cost in the neighborhood, I'm going to say about $600,000. And it was not possible without grants from Northern Cal DX Foundation and DEXA, lots and lots of clubs, and just a whole lot of people around the world. It was very gratifying. But in general, the general formula for dxpeditions is about half the cost is covered by the team members, and you try to get the rest from foundations and other contributors. So here's some of the other expeditions that the Intrepid DX group pulled off. They've gone to, up in the upper left is a call sign for Yemen. They were on the island, Socorro Island, a very, very exotic island off of Yemen. They've been to South Sudan in Africa, Iraq, Ethiopia, and islands in the Pacific, Conway Reef and such. So these are very, very tough, very, very politically hot zones, and they managed to pull off going to a number of these operations. And I'm having now gone on one of these trips with them. I'm a member of their group. Here are the members of the team. There were 14 of us on this trip. There were actually 15 originally, but one member got sick at the last minute, couldn't attend, which added a lot more stress to the rest of us to carry the load. The gentleman in the middle, on the left is Paul, N6PSE, he's co-leader. And on the right is Bob, K3LP, who passed away about a year after this expedition. And it's a sad story. He drowned in his pond on his property while he was trying to save his dog that fell through the ice. It's just a heart-wrenching story, and we all miss Bob very much. But the rest of us for around the world, we have up the upper right is Dima from Russia. Down the bottom is Axel from Germany, and also on the bottom W6DR, who's from Mars, a very strange fellow. But we got to know him, like each other on this trip. And on the right, June from Japan, and the rest of us are from the States. Pretty much cover the countryside. So to pull off an operation like this, so we're all supposed to meet a boat on the Falkland Islands on a particular date that's going to sail at a particular time. So if you have a travel problem, you end up not on the boat. And so the logistics of pulling off something like this is very complicated. So here are where all the team members were when they started their travels. And so as you wind your way around and everybody makes their way down to the Falkland Islands, there's one link at the end from Argentina to the Falkland Islands is on a once-a-week flight. And if you miss that flight, you'll miss the once-in-a-llifetime boat ride out to the islands. So it's not something you want to miss. And fortunately, all of us, except the gentleman who came up sick, all managed to get there. Going home, completely different story. We all got scattered to the winds because of weather issues, but it was all right. We had done our job. We were on our way home. So here's the basic plan for this operation. Very complicated process. So here's the part of the South Atlantic that is involved. You see the southern tip of Chile and Antarctica and Argentina to the left. The Falkland Islands, where Port Stanley is the harbor we were leaving from. And you see the two island groups, South Georgia Island Group, and then the South Sandwich Island Group. And the South Sandwich Island Group is actually a system of 7 islands. And the only one that has any land you can walk on is the very southernmost island, South Thule. And I got a lot of pictures of that. I'll show you that. But the geography is such that the distances are formidable, and you're sailing a long time in the roaring 40s, enjoying the seas down there in a very crummy boat. that doesn't ride waves very well at all. So the plan was this: the Braveheart, which is stationed out of New Zealand, sailed over to South America, fueled up over in Chile, and then sailed over to the Falkland to meet us on the 9th of January. We got off the airplane, took a bus to Stanley, and we got immediately on the board, and we immediately left. So if that plane, you missed that plane, that's it. No other way but to get on this trip. Then sail for 4 or 5 days to get to South Georgia, where we undergo some training, which is mandatory. A part of the agreement for us to actually be on these islands is to undergo some training about how to interact with the animals and how to deal with contamination issues and how to clean your feet and your hands and all this stuff before going on and off the island to prevent the integrating or causing diseases and such to affect the wildlife and plant life on the islands. And then after the training, we went on to sail to what, this is not working today. Okay, sail for 3 days down to the South Thule Island, where we then finally get on the air for about 8 days was the plan from the island. And then we would sail right back to South Georgia and then operate a second expedition for 8 days on this island, and then sail home and catch our return flights to the rest of the world. And we had some time at the gap at the end of this trip so that some of the operators who haven't had enough radio by this point in time can get on and operate from the Falkland Islands with their call sign. I think about half the members of the team did that. So here's the boat as I saw it, as I got off the bus from the airport and looked out in the water, and the boat wasn't as big as I thought it was. It was rustier than I thought it was. It was, it wasn't, a cruise ship. This is a working boat. It's about 109 foot long, 25 foot beam, and but it is notorious for having the capability of managing these waters, and it's the boat of choice for these sort of operations. So we Zodiac'd over, we got on board and quickly stowed our gear. You see to the right, the most of the rooms had bunks like that, and I got the upper bunk, and I got to tell you how to get into the upper bunk while you're at sea. It's very simple. You essentially, put one of your feet on the lower bunk edge, and you get your belly, your belt line essentially up to the edge of your bunk, and you wait for the boat to pitch over wildly and to throw you into your bunk. So that's how you get into a bunk on the Braveheart. That stairway in the middle, I got very familiar with this. Your bed's down below. I'm an old white male, go to the bathroom a couple times every night, and I had to navigate the stairwell several times a night on all these trips in fairly rough seas. So I learned to walk up the stairwell with one hand holding the railing and the other hand holding on to the barf bucket. Here's the crew and the owner. To the right is Nigel Jolly, who owns the Braveheart and another boat, the Claymore 2, which are both boats that serve numerous islands in the South Pacific Atlantic. Their primary business is in the summer in the South, and that's when we went down to Antarctica, or down to these islands, was in January, the middle of the summer. And you have to book these guys a year and ahead, because for example, they bring supplies to Pitcairn Island and a lot of the islands throughout the Pacific. The crew is very, very skilled sailors, and they're also very good at diving. They can mountain climbers. They're just really very rugged gentlemen. Now the guy at extreme left is the cook. He's a little crazy, but we got used to him after a couple of days. He's all meant well. But the thing that impressed me the most is you get on board and you go down below into the stateroom, a very small area you can sit in. There's a library you can read if you can manage that in these seas. And you'll see there are a bunch of plaques, and these plaques are for dxpeditions of the year, that this boat served teams to conduct operations that were the best in the year where they were held. It's just the Hall of Fame. It's just amazing. And then many of the operators will have their QSL cars mounted on the wall, and they're all people I know so well from all the years I've been in the game. These are all very, very familiar to me, and it was just humbling to be, you know, a part of this history of this boat and these sort of operations. So, all right, so let's get underway. So we're headed to steam out of Stanley, nice calm seas, and then we start to get into the area of the trip that's a lot of fun. And this is sort of what you see all along the way. Generally, the seas were like 10 to 15 foot swells, and the boat is just the wrong size, and it likes to be on two of the swells at the same time, and it gets thrown around pretty wildly. The tiltometer and the I don't know, the helms up at the helmsman has a meter that tells you whether you're pitching to the left or right. Got to 45 degrees on some of these swells. They were pretty interesting. Very, very difficult to sleep, but managed to get in some of it. But it calmed down quite a bit here as we entered the into the South Georgia for our training session. So here's the harbor, and this is a little bit of history. This is where the Falkland War started. The Argentinians claim these islands because of its proximity to Argentina. The Brits claim these because they were the first to visit or to colonize, not colonize, but to inhabit the islands, which is a part of the process of claiming the island. You have to actually live there, and their history is that they had built a number of whaling processing stations on this island, and the war started on this island because the Argentinians sent down a team to take over the whaling village here in Grytviken, and the Brits sent down I think 5 warships down to the island, and they launched operations to end the Argentina activities in this area. And one of the famous failed military operations is where the Brits launched 3 helicopters from one of the warships to the island in order to start a counter attack. And in the process of landing these helicopters on the glacier nearby, the winds started to blow upwards of hundreds of miles an hour, 100 miles an hour plus. All the helicopters tipped over, and they had to send the last helicopter they had left on the warship over to save all of the warriors from this disaster. And while they were on that ice flow, the winds of 100 miles an hour, it was throwing shards of ice that was completely ripping up all their clothing, and they were in serious peril. And so and I didn't learn about that until after I got home, but in my experiences here, I can fully understand how this sort of thing would happen to you. So fortunately for us, calmer days in this trip, this part of the trip. We sailed in, we anchored, and then we met with the representatives from the British Antarctic Territory office. They gave us the training, we filled out all the forms, and then we had some time to walk around and check out the scenery. This is the harbor, a lot of old whaling boats. There's also the Shackleton's grave is here. The famous story about the probably the most amazing rescue operation of a failed sailing expedition ever. The Shackleton was the captain of that boat and was part of pulled off this amazing journey across the 600 miles of Arctic Ocean in a dinghy converted into a small sailboat. They navigated by the sun, if you can imagine seeing the sun for any length of time on that sort of trip. They managed to sail into the backside of this island and then climbed over the mountain range to get into this village here and to then whip up a rescue operation that sailed back to the failed ship down in Antarctica, and they saved every single member of that whaling ship team. It's just the most amazing thing. And Shackleton wanted to be buried on this island when he died, so visiting his grave was really kind of cool. So after our training was done, we're ready to move on. I'm going to sail to 3 days at sea down to South Sandwich, which is probably was the number 2 or 3 most rare operation island in the list, the needed list. And the most recent operation from that island was 19 years previously, where a group got on the island for only 3 days. They actually planned a longer trip, but the storm systems blew in and blew them completely off the island. So there's lots of preparation, a lot of, you gotta have numerous approaches to get on and get off the island safely. And so we spent, we spent a lot of time talking about plans, about how we're gonna do, get all the equipment onto shore and who's gonna be on which team's doing what. You got nothing else to do, so you spend your time planning while your brain still works. And of course, everybody's wearing those scope patches, which one of the side effects of those scope patches is you're kind of goofy and trying to logically think through a complex problem when you're on those patches is really not recommended, but what you got to do. Eating was possible for some. The gentleman on the left is an amazing fellow. He's been on. He's a medical. He's a doctor. He works in emergency rooms. He's been on numerous. He had a job for a while inspecting boats, Japanese fishing boats off of Alaska for a couple of years. So he's used to being in rough waters, and this didn't seem to bother him. The rest of us picked at our food and didn't do too much eating on the boat. Plus the food was really pretty bad. But one of the things you got to worry about in these waters are icebergs. Not so much the big ones; those are easy to see. It's the little ones that hide behind the waves that are the ones you really have to watch out for. So the protocol is to have two of the crew at the helm at all times, and sometimes one of them, those two, is up on the roof with a spotlight looking ahead to make sure there's nothing to worry about. But these icebergs are just incredibly interesting things. This particular one happens to be beached on the shore right off the island, but it's just an incredibly beautiful thing. So this was our first view of the island. It's not the first time we noticed the island because we could smell the island about an hour or two before. There's a lot of wildlife on these islands. It's just amazing how rich the wildlife is in this area. And I've studied this a bit since this trip, and it turns out the South Atlantic has an unusual situation where the currents that flow around Antarctica, essentially circle Antarctica, tend to sort of dig up certain nutrients from the shelf below, below the ocean, the bottom of the ocean, and it has very high levels of nutrients that attract or grow. I'm not sure the life form is, but these single cell critters that are then eaten by the little squids, and the little squids are eaten by the whales, and it's just the natural, kind of perfect system to spawn life. It's just amazing. I've never seen more fish, more, you know, penguins, more seals, more anything than in this, on these islands. It's just amazing how rich the wildlife is. So we got to the island, and the Nigel, boat owner, sort of, he said, okay, now we're here, let's talk about how we're going to get on the island. And he sort of laid out the plan. He says there's two options. There's going to be option one will be to sort of anchor offshore, Zodiac in, and then wade through the surf with all our stuff to get all, you know, the mountain of hardware and things onto the island. The second option is to motor around into the straits. On the backside, there reportedly was a rope ladder or rope that was left behind by the previous crew from 19 years ago. So the decision was made to assemble a small team to do option one, get on board, and do three things. One is to pick the operating site for our operation. Two, find the rescue hut that is typically available on these islands for when you have extreme weather and you need a place to really go to survive. We needed to know where that was. And three, find the rope, make sure that's okay and still there. So I volunteered to be part of the option one team, and we all got in our survival suits. And let me give you a couple of tidbits about the Braveheart. Braveheart was built in Japan, and it was sized for Japan-sized people. I am 6'4" and over 250 pounds, and the survival suits were really designed for Japanese people. And so to get that suit on me, all I need to tell you is lubricants were involved. So we got on board the Zodiac and made our way over to the island. Are you guys hearing the audio? I'm just curious.
Bits and pieces of it, not all.
Okay.
Of it. I hear like the waves and stuff like that hitting.
Okay, so while I was heading ashore, the team leader, Paul, N6PSE, almost had like a link set up to the rest of the world. We're putting out little tweets, little broadcasts. And I don't know what just happened there.
Here's a man from your library on Amazon Music.
Alexa, cancel. I triggered my Alexa. Sorry about that. So we were headed to shore, and what Paul saw was somebody fell into the water. And so he posted that. Oh my God, somebody fell into the water. And of course, my wife is what? Excuse me. Alexa, cancel. Sorry about that.
Gotta love
Too many
technology.
electronic objects in here. And so my wife got wind of this, and she knew immediately that it was me. And as it turns out, I didn't fall in the water. The captain told me to jump into the water and wade ashore, and I did what the captain told me to do. And I expected the water to be about waist deep, turned out to be neck deep. And I expected the bottom to be sandy, and it was full of boulders. And we were surrounded by walruses and ice flows, and it was an interesting walk ashore. And I did manage to get in, and it was clear that we could not get our gear in this way, so we had to work like crazy to get to the right way to get stuff on board. Now, as we were being instructed on the island by Nigel Jolly, he said that one of the things you got to deal with was the slippery slope. And what you're looking at here is the slippery slope, and you might wonder, well, what is that? That's slippery. Well, that's not dirt. That happens to be penguin poop. It's probably 100-foot thick. It's been built by, for 100,000 years by penguins. And so the whole operation is going to be run while we're camped out on the top of, hopefully, frozen penguin poop. That was the plan. So we waded ashore and we went searching for our 3 items. We found the right spot for the operation. That was pretty obvious where to go. We did find the rescue hut, but it was not really usable. And we did find a rope, but we were already on the island and we figured, well, let them have some fun and we'll just tell them that the rope's probably okay. And so they moved the boat around the other side of the island to get on shore using this approach. But here's the cliff. It's about a 50-foot cliff. They have to scale up. Sometimes it's nice and dry and sometimes it's not. But here's the sequence of one gentleman getting off the Zodiac on a well-timed launch. Sort of gets pulled ashore. The boat goes away. He falls flat in his face. A couple guys drag him up, dust him off, and he continues his climb up the rock face cliff. Pretty simple. Nothing to it. Here's our campsite that we picked. We were told to steer clear of the animals. Animals are everywhere, so that didn't work. We also steer clear of any of the debris. That debris is from past Argentinian inhabitations of this island with military outposts. It was everywhere. And we used some of that material, raw material, for stuff. We found planks of wood that we used to build walkways in those areas where the penguin poop wasn't so frozen, and life was good. Some reason I have to get through that. So here's how you get your stuff on shore. Sort of set up a human chain and go hand to hand up the hill. And when you finally do get it up and hand it to somebody, they continue up another 100 foot up the hill to the very top to where our camp was located. I'm going to figure out this yet. And some of the hard things were getting the generators on board. These are a lot heavier than those plastic boxes. This particular one got a little wet, but it survived okay. And then you tie it to a rope, and some big, strong back, weak mind guy like me would get the rope, and we'd pull it straight up the island to get it up to the site. So here are our tents that we're going to use for the operation on the island. The plan was for everybody to be on the island for the entire stay, no going back and forth to the boat. The boat would bring meals several times a day, and we would have one tent for sleeping and eating, the other tent for the ham station. The team practiced building these tents out in a nice park on a nice sunny afternoon, and it was easy to put up. It was definitely different even in January on this island. The sun never got above 15 degrees above the horizon. It was always kind of dim and dark, always cold and windy. So figuring out how to do the tents was a little different than in the park. But here they are set up. These tents were picked because they are the tent of choice in a number of Himalayan operations. The tent in the middle is the poop tent, the chemical potty thing that you got to have. Even though we're living on piles of poop, laws said we had to do it this way. So that's cool. Here's our antenna farm, not too high. Antennas are, anything over 10 foot wouldn't stay up very long. So we pretty much kept them at low altitudes, but they work fine. Everybody didn't care how loud you were. They just wanted to be in the log. And we did everything we could to make sure that happened. Here's one of the antennas. We didn't find all of the parts in the box. And so we did what all good hams do, that we figured something out. We just finished the elements using wire that we had cut up from rotor cable and stuff, and got it to resonate, made 15,000 QSOs. So who cares what it looks like? We even got on 6 meters. We put a station up, we beaconed away on that band a lot, didn't catch anything, but we gave it a shot, like we told everybody would. Here's what our 40 meter operation was using a 4-square. It's a common directional antenna. You can steer the antenna in 4 different directions. It's a very, very, very effective antenna because it's on the ground, very stable. Here's a couple other low frequency antennas, 80 meters and 30 meters. We had a pretty good antenna system for 160. We had a 2-element vertical array. And we did everything we could to maximize performance on 160. It's one of the more needed aspects of these islands. The previous operation here did not get on 160, or they did put up an antenna, but it broke immediately, and they never did make any QSOs. So it was very, very high demand. And so the way you manage all these antennas is we had a bunch of what they call triplexers, which turn a tri-bander into 3 different antenna ports so that various stations can use various bands on the same antenna. And so you have this little patch panel that you use to permit sort of ad hoc changing of bands when conditions change and you need to go to a different band. You just walk over to this panel and find one that's available and you switch to that band. Here's our sleeping tent and eating tent. Some just fell over when they found a flat spot. It was it's a community thing. You find an open seat, you take it. So here I'm going to take you on a tour out of the tent. The sound of the zipper, I still remember it. I've zipped in and out of that thing 1,000 times. And then we'll take a walk by the chemical toilet over to the operating tent. The hum of generators in the background. It's like a permanent field day. And the way we worked, we had around the perimeter of the octagon thing, we had all the work tables, and we had our pile of stuff in the middle, the spare parts and things. And we uploaded our logs every day. We had objectives we were trying to meet every day. Over there to the left, you see a kind of an information panel with, stuff everybody needs to know, where we're going, how well we're doing, who's doing what shifts and that sort of thing. So here are all the operators at work. It actually flowed very well. My assignment on this team was to be the kind of the head of the CW team, but we did mostly CW. So most of the operators were sort of on my team, and I worked to get them all scheduled and slotted and the right ops on the right bands. And I did such a good job that they were busy all the time, and there was nobody over on the RTTY station. So I made, I don't know, 15,000 RTTY QSOs over that span of time. So that, and I don't like RTTY much, and I learned to really hate it after this trip. The other thing that had happened was that the RTTY station was not tested before the trip. And when we got there, we found that the interface stuff that was brought didn't work. And so June brought his little itty bitty Japanese computer on shore, and we converted that to the RTTY station, which is fine. It did RTTY, but the keyboard was about 2/3 the normal size, and my hands are 4/3 normal size. And I had real challenges in typing, and I had to take my gloves off to type, and I ended up with frostbite in the ends of all my fingers. It was very, very cold and very humid. And something that's really interesting, I didn't know this about camping in Antarctica, is that it rains inside your tent because the humidity is high in the tent because everybody exhales moist air, and it freezes, not freezes, condenses on the inside of the tent, and then it rains inside your tent. It's really strange. So there were some good days on the island where weather was great, view was wonderful. You get an idea, there's probably 1 million or 2 penguins on this island. And they're really noisy penguins. I mean, they're just honking all the time. And they're right outside your tent. I mean, you're sleeping and there's 50 penguins within 10 feet of your head. It's just incredible how noisy it is on this island. But got a chance to tour, check out the wildlife. You see, every once in a while, you'll see fluffy, furry looking penguin. That's a young one under a year. They have the light feathers. Until then, you see those two in the front, they're mating, doing the dance, but just constantly honking. And they set up I think they nest for a year. They hatch their young'uns and they weather through the winter. These seals are about a quarter mile from water. It's amazing they got in this far inland, but you kind of give these guys wide berth because they're really big and noisy and smelly and not what you want. So here I did a kind of a Jacques Cousteau sort of a self video. This is the path you take down to the 50-foot cliff with a rope hanging over the edge. I just thought I would show you how to take your time walking through the rubble field, dodging the animals as best you could. Try not to fall, kill yourself. And let's focus on not stumbling and falling, because next closest hospital is a long way away. So I'm focused. And what I didn't realize, that thing right in front of me was this huge seal. And it noticed me, it honked real hard, scared the crap out of me, and I ran away as fast as I could. I love this photo. It's my favorite. Sort of chaos in the front, serenity in the back, and your only way home right there on the boat. And then some days it was not so good. Kind of get ready to get your weather gear to go between tents. Don't want to try this without having your weather gear on. Now you guys are in Colorado. You guys, this is normal for you guys, right? But in Phoenix, in preparing for this trip, I was told that you need to get gear and have 3 layers of clothing. Layer 1, 2, 3. Layer 1 is your thermal underwear. Layer 2 is kind of a lightweight sort of sweatpants and sweat shirt, that sort of thing. And then layer 3 is the outer, the coat that protects you, your bib overalls and all that stuff. And so I went to the Arctic weather gear store here in Phoenix, but they had nothing in my size, and they had nothing actually. And so I had to spend months building my Arctic wardrobe a layer at a time, because you don't know how much bigger you need a jacket when you have 2 layers below it. So I bought layer 1, got that figured out, and then worked on layer 2 and then layer 3, and worked out pretty well. But I threw them all that clothing away when I came home, because it was just pasted with penguin poop. But some days we had to, towards the end of our stay on this island, a couple of days before we were planning to leave, the weather turned really nasty. The tents started to fail, and the snow was covering the tents, and it just got very, very difficult to do anything at these sites. The tent actually, the sleeping tent actually collapsed over the top of everybody, and we were in the inside pressing out of the tent to sort of offset the force caused by the 100-mile-an-hour winds pushing on the tent to cause it to collapse. And we didn't have the same skills that these penguins did to get around. It was they had an obvious advantage over us. But we had a problem on the last day on the island. It was about 4 in the morning, and the captain called us and said, "It's time to get off the island now." And so turns out that storm broke up a bunch of icebergs and created what they call pack ice. And that pack ice was starting to flow into the channel where the boat was, and the boat had to get out of there, or it would have to wait through the winter to come out in the spring, which was 6 months away. So we had to get off the island right away. And so we unpacked, tore everything down, packed it up, moved it down the hill, just nonstop. And in about 8 hours time, we managed to get everything down. And onto the Zodiac, which took it over to the boat, and we loaded it on the boat. And it was one of the hardest things that all of us, each of us, had ever had to do in our life. But we got on the boat, got through the channel out in the open seas in time before the ice floes moved in. So our trip was cut short by about a day and a half. And we were sort of kind of, our worst fear had actually happened, that we almost narrowly dodged a very, very bad situation, something you kind of worry about. And our results were good. We did much better than the previous operation, probably 3 times as many contacts, because we were there probably 3 times as long as they were. And we met some of our marks. We tried to work North America as much as we could. Most of us are from there, and the conditions were okay, but it was much more favorable to Europe. It's just the paths are better to Europe from there. But we did pretty well. We felt pretty satisfied with the result, but we weren't sure what to do. I mean, clearly our tents did not survive the environment. And the concern we had was, well, are we going to do this again? Are we going to set up one more time using these same tents? And so we started sailing and thinking, well, no, I think we should probably call this off and go home. But after a day or so, we talked about it. We went, what the hell? We'll give it a shot. We'll see what we can do. We'll change the plan. We'll only have one tent on shore, and we'll use the boat to sleep. And we'll just rotate operators on and off the island. It's in a harbor. It should be pretty good. And so that was our plan. Our new plan was to use the pieces and parts of the 2 tents to make one good tent and carry on. So on to South Georgia. A couple of 3 days at sea, and we got started with our operation. And when we got to the island, it was absolutely gorgeous. It was just as smooth as sailing imaginable. The mesmerizing views. It was just the most gorgeous place you'd ever seen in your life. And all of our gear was really ready to go. We didn't have it stowed, so it was on deck, ready to be put on Zodiacs for the trip. You stepped off of the Zodiac into ankle deep water. It was just a breeze. It was like, what's so hard about this? And all our antennas were essentially pre-assembled from the last operation, ready to go. We managed to get the tent up, and it worked very well. It looked like everything was working to plan. We started putting up the antennas, got them, oriented in the directions we wanted. I did my magic, make sure everything was tuned right. And here's the stations humming away at night, working on the low bands. We got the 2-element 80-meter array over there to the left, the 30-meter vertical, and somewhere in the middle. Way out back, the 2-element 160-meter vertical array, and over here the 40-meter 4-square. And then you saw the tri-banders and work band Yagis off to the left and to the right out of the scene of this picture. So everything was in shape. We had spare aluminum in case we got some winds. Yeah, what could go wrong? So we got underway. Operations got started. We had both phone and CW in the same tent, which is an interesting thing to do. As a CW op, you want to focus on the sounds of the tones in your headset. And if you're sitting next to a guy who likes to yell in his microphone, it gets interesting. But we try to do it. This gentleman here, Bob, knows that. He talks very gently into the microphone. Others are screamers. This Bob right here is a screamer. He was hard to operate next to. But this is the way it works. Kind of just pounding out the cues like crazy. It really was working very well. Everything was nice. And we had some time to do some hiking up the hills. What you'll see off to the left is another whaling station. This is not the same harbor that we got our training in. This is further north from there, but another whaling village there. And part of our agreement with the government was that we kept wide berth from there. We were not allowed anywhere near that. And we thought it was for contamination concerns or asbestos or whatever. But there were a couple of, you see a couple of other boats in the harbor besides the Braveheart. And those are teams of visitors doing some scientific studies on the island. and they were living in that building that you see with the white, the pink roofs and the white sides. They were doing studies there. It turns out the real reason we were not allowed to visit in the village is that the previous operation to this island, some 15 years before, during a storm, the members of the team, essentially, again, against the rules of the government, went over to that building and broke into it in order to survive the storms. And the government got very upset with that operation, and they banned ham radio from being allowed on this island until our trip. And I didn't know this until, you know, a couple of years after this operation. And so that's, you know, good to know, because, you know, we had a situation again on this island that made us think about that whole process. But again, beautiful weather. It was just wonderful until it happened again. We started having events that started happening periodically through the day, and we were outside repairing masts and beams all the time. A mast like that, you look at that and you go, okay, I can fix that. What you do is you know, cut a few pieces of metal, you shove it back in, and you have a mast that's not quite as tall as before, and then happens again, and you make it a little bit shorter and a little bit shorter. You just, you know, kind of just keep working through the issues one at a time. This is what a 160-meter vertical looks like in 75-mile-an-hour winds. Pretty interesting. This is what happened to the tent. It essentially started to collapse right on top of us. Inside there would be 6 or 7 people sitting at operating stations with the roof hitting them on the head. And those fiberglass supports started to break and snap and started beating on those on the fabric. And it was like you're inside of a 20-foot diameter speaker cone. It was just noisy. It was very, very unnerving. This is what a antenna looks like in 100-mile-an-hour winds. And in this night, during the night of this operation, the end of this operation, it was just totally, we were hunkered down under tables. The tables protected us from this vent. We actually decided to abandon this camp. We called the boat asking for their help, and they hung up on us. They said, we're too busy right now to talk to you. And so, because they were out in the harbor trying to save the boat while we were on shore. The winds got to 120 miles an hour on this in this valley. And this is what happened to the military operations back in the Falkland Island War. Same thing happened, where these storms come out of nowhere, hit the island from the other side, and just come out of, in a matter of minutes, this storm will just appear and start blowing like this. It's crazy. And these storms have eyes. The storm would be just howling and it would stop, be dead calm. And you got 15 minutes to do something before the winds picks up again. But here's the boat. Here's not our boat, but this is one of the boats of the researchers that got foundered on the reef. It hit the reef and a big hole in the side that got patched sometime later. But the owner of this boat was a friend of the captain's, and he sent his members of his team, our team, over to help them. Essentially got them off that boat while it was foundering, and then as things let up a little bit, took them back over to help try to get it repaired. But all our antennas were absolutely pretzel. It was just rubbish when we got done with this operation. But we're done. We had done well. Everything worked as planned. It just was a little tough. You see why these are very, very hard, very rare places to be on the air. The conditions are extreme. There's probably no other place to go where you'll see such extremes in weather. But we packed up everything. We had to, requirement was to pick up every single zip tie, every single piece of paper, plastic, whatever it is. We canvassed the area until we got it as clean as we found it, loaded everything up, and headed home. But I got to tell you that these islands are the most amazingly beautiful islands, but just incredibly harsh. It's amazing that people, live here. Not many live here, there are probably only 2 or 3 permanent residents on this island. But I can't imagine spending a winter there. It's got to be something else. But we did better from this site. Our operation lasted a couple of days longer, and we had a better antenna plan on this second half of the trip. So our results are better. We also worked a lot more in North America, up to 32,000 QSOs into North America. Conditions were just that much better to North America from these islands. So as we made our way back to Falkland, some of the members of the team decided to get on the air from the Falklands. I had plenty of radio, so I didn't participate in this, but they all, jumped off the boat. They found a way to set up antennas and radios, and they got on the air and they started doing pileups again. I had enough of that. I just did tours all around the islands of Falkland. On one day, I took a 4-wheel drive trip over to the east end of the island. It was just gorgeous. I came across a different kind of penguin. This penguin is the King George penguin, and unlike the other penguins that were on the other island was chaos. They all honked at the same time. It was like just big roaring pileup. But these birds, they honk one at a time. They're very mellow. They're very wonderful. It's too bad that we didn't have 5-day stay on or 8-day stay on an island with these penguins. But I managed to see a lot of wildlife. We went. There's a couple of museums on the island. We got a chance to go through, and we had plenty of time because the minute we pulled into the harbor, it was time for the once-a-week flight to take off. So we had a whole week to wait for the next once-a-week flight, and that flight in that week later was delayed because of winds, and it took off 4 hours late, and we missed all our connections. And many of us spent the next 2 or 3 days scrambling all around the globe trying to find ways to get home. And so the longest route was 4 days for someone to get home. I managed to get back in 3, but I got really tired of travel. But when thinking back on this operation, it was probably one of the most rewarding expeditions of my life because of just the sheer level of accomplishment under such dire circumstances. And you wonder whether this is going to happen again. The Braveheart, owned then by Nigel Jolly, was sold. He is getting out of the business, retiring, and you wonder, is there anybody like that who's going to be able to help hams put together credible, safe journeys to these sort of places? Because without that boat, without that crew, this doesn't happen. So the future of dxpeditions to these sort of islands is in question. Now there is a just recently announced expedition to Bouvet Island, which is probably slightly more hostile than South Sandwich, but not by much. There is a team that is managing to go to the island without the Braveheart using a sailboat, a very interesting sailboat, very well designed for these waters, and we'll see if that can be the approach that is taken. The teams won't be as big, and they will not be able to have a cook prepare meals and shuttle them in every day. They got to live on MREs, meals ready to eat, for their entire operation, which is a different kind of show. So but for me, this was this had always been a bucket list activity, something I always wanted to try to do to get on one of these expeditions. I went on to one more.
Okay, I can hear it now. On my computer.
I've been on one other top 10 expedition since then. I went to Baker Island in 2018.
A microphone on my system. I do not have a camera.
Okay, I'm not sure I'm sharing the floor with, but I went on one other expedition in 2018 to Baker Island, and that'll probably be the last of these I ever do. I've been on 4 expeditions on boats, and they're just the blue water sailing is not something I enjoy, but it's something you've got to do.
Activity we'll do sometimes, so I can get better at it.
So,
Not that I like Zoom, but
I understand.
so is anybody hearing me?
Yeah, I'm hearing
I'm
you.
trying to.
You're good.
Okay.
Trying to find
Okay.
out where he's at and trying to mute him, but unfortunately,
We got 34 participants.
Okay.
hey,
do
Don,
you even show me on the screen yet?
there we go.
Yeah, I see your.
Okay, I got him. I got him.
Okay.
Good.
So for me, this is the end of this sort of operation. I still do other dxpeditions, but they got to have cold beer for a reason for any of the places I go to from here on out. Last year I managed to be voted into the CQ Magazine Hall of Fame, which is again a kind of a lifetime achievement sort of thing. Not sure I need to do much more, but it takes a lot of time. I mean, you know, you're out of your house for. I mean, I was away from home for 6 weeks on this trip. It's not for someone who's working. You know, it has to be someone who has a lot of time and spare income that can afford these sort of trips. But if you were to pay for a commercial trip to these sort of places, it'd be unbelievably expensive. Doing it the way we did probably cost a tenth of what a commercial trip would be. Yeah, there's a few more risks, but I think the rewards are just so much outweigh it. It's totally acceptable to me. So that's what we pulled off in 2016. Hopefully these sort of dxpeditions will happen again going forward. We'll have to see, and we'll see what happens in the Beauvais Island operation coming up next year. It'll be interesting to see how that comes on. So with that, ask to see if there are any questions from you guys out there.
Yeah, thank you, Ed. Ned, appreciate that. Yeah, there was one question that says, whose HF gear did you have and amplifiers?
Okay, it was all equipment was provided by Elecraft. It's the K3. It's a K3 radios. We had, I think it was 8 of them. We also had the KPA 500s were the amplifiers, and we also had the Cat 500 antenna switches and antenna tuners, and completely provided by Elecraft. They are have been the kind of dxpedition radio of choice. Recent dxpeditions have started using flex radios. So, but the K3 line is no longer in production, and I don't know. I believe that Beauvais is lined up to use K4s, the Elecraft K4.
All right, cool. Yeah, another comment was, what an amazing adventure. Thank you for sharing with us. So we do appreciate that. I got a couple of questions. Did anybody do any research as far as working with like maybe the folks who are permanently stationed in Antarctica or places like that, as far as asking maybe what kind, or even working with NASA to say, hey, you got some kind of lightweight material you recommend, or know something we can build us a tent, maybe something like they're testing to use on Mars or something like that, and work with some of these different space organizations that might have helped on this expedition? Or has anybody looked into that as far as expeditions?
Yeah, the team leaders, Paul and Bob, researched the shelter business, and the range of solutions are, this is a kind of a lightweight tent, easy to carry. One person can lift the entire tent. If you were to get a military dress tent, it would weigh a couple thousand pounds, and you could not get that up the 50-foot cliff. There was an operation to Heard Island right after ours. I mean, the boat dropped us off, sailed to South Africa, and picked up the next dxpedition to go to Heard Island. They used an inflatable tent system, which was wonderful, a marvelous thing, but again, weighed thousands of pounds. And they had a system of, tractors essentially to move all their equipment around. We could not get any of that on shore. So you have to temper your solution to the logistics of using it. Now, in some of the in one of the museums on Falkland that I visited, they had a section on Antarctic expeditions, and they showed this room or this part of a facility that was used to house the team that did a kind of 100-day trek across Antarctica, and they had rigid wall structure, and it was in the write-ups in the presentation. They discussed, you know, all of the requirements that had to go into the design of that shelter, and to really survive, you need rigid wall structures, but you know, you need a half dozen dog sleds to move it.
Yeah.
So again, for hams, for a 1-week stay, if the shelter is not already there, you have to bring something, and it's up to you to figure out how to get it there.
You can have it airdropped in. See if
Yeah,
Uncle Sam,
there you
will-
go.
see if Uncle Sam. I'm an old loan master for 130, so yeah, we just airdrop it in for you. I had another question. Says you mentioned uploading logs. How did you do this? Was it satellite internet, or what did you use to upload your logs?
Right. Okay. Yeah, we had purchased minutes, hours of satellite time on the Intelsat network, and it's a very, very interesting situation with that sort of thing. Okay, so you have an Earth station terminal that you lease from an agent, and then you purchase minutes of access time, and it's your job to aim the antenna at the satellite. So, and Intelsat's in a geostationary orbit around the equator, and unfortunately their station keeping fuel is running low, and they don't maintain their position very well, and these birds fly in a kind of a figure-8 pattern in the sky, which is fine if you're on the horizon, if you're on the equator, but we're down near the pole, and it turns out that the figure-8, we only saw half the figure-8. So for 2 or 3 hours every day, the satellite was up above the horizon by 2 or 3 degrees. We could make contact with the satellite, upload our logs, and, you know, emails and stuff, and then the bird would go below the horizon. It was very, very interesting, but that's the situation. You could also do, you could buy Iridium minutes, but it was not good for sending large files. It's okay for short, bursty messages. In fact, a number of the people on shore had Iridium self handsets, and there was also these GPS. I can't remember the name of the company that has Garmin has this system where you can send messages through Iridium using your Garmin GPS device. But for sending large files, you have to use Intelsat. It's about the only way.
Okay. Another question was RTTY. Was RTTY the only digital mode that was used?
This is 1976, all right, or 2016, excuse me. Wow, I don't know where that came from. 2016, FT8 was invented in 2017. In 2016, the alternate to RTTY that was active was JT65. And if you've ever used JT65, then you're familiar with a 6-minute QSO. Okay, that does not support very high data rates. So the only digital mode in use in that time was RTTY,
okay,
which is a lot faster than JT65.
Oh,
FT8 is slow as well, but I was a member of a team that developed actually the dxpedition mode. I worked with Joe Taylor, and we deployed that new mode on the Baker Island operation in 2018. And that really speeded up digital operations. And it did what I wanted to do. I wanted to kill RTTY so bad. I hated it. It's just stupid. You know, the whole interface is for wireline. You know, you got to, you know, it's an infinite bandwidth, you know, on-off keying mode, which is terrible for shortwave narrowband radio. It doesn't work. Most of your energy falls outside of your, you know, of the bandwidth of your receiver, of your IF, and the bandwidth of your narrow bandwidth of your receiver creates all kinds of phase distortions in the signal, and it screws up things, and it's horrible. And it needed to go away, and I did everything in my power to make it go away, and I succeeded. I helped create the dxpedition mode, and nobody has run RTTY since that has happened. So I think I did my job.
Congratulations on that. Another question was, if there was a serious medical emergency, what was the plan?
A medical emergency?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, let me try laying this upon you. All right, so on our trip to between Falklands and South Georgia, about 3 days in, as we got near the iceberg areas, the crew sponsored a muster drill. They sounded the klaxon, everybody woke up or did, out of their stupor or whatever, grabbed their flotation suit and met up on the deck. And so the captain walked through, this is what we're going to do if this happens, this is what we're going to do if that happens. And I, patiently listened to this whole thing. And I said, at the end of all that, I said, okay, so we put on our suits and we jump in the water over there. How long before someone's going to come there and pick me up? And he didn't have a good answer for that. Okay, what would probably happen is that they would fly over and drop another flotation device that you crawl on, and then you have to wait about a week for a boat to get to you. So that's sort of where you were in this trip. There's really no other way around that. There's no shipping lanes down there. There's no other traffic to rely on to find you. So communications are important. Preparation to survive for 24 hours is about the best you can do. And beyond that, you need help.
All right. So did you have something coordinated with I don't know if the Falcons had like a Coast Guard or anything like that when you were down in that area? Was there anything like that down there that we could have?
Yeah. The Falcons does have a emergency team. They do go out with vessels in distress and provide assistance, and that would be where any assistance would come from. Would be out of Falkland.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool. All right. Does anybody else have any other questions? You can unmute yourself and ask Ned. I just read the ones that came in on the chat, so it's kind of going through there. Anybody? Well, Ned, it was a great presentation. Thank you very much. I mean, this is part of the world that most of us will probably never get to see.
That's fact. It is so unique.
I mean, as far as south as I've ever been is La Paz, Bolivia, when I was in the Air Force. But it definitely is a unique situation. And who knows, with modern technology, they might come up with a lighter weight, sturdy material that, you can stay as a tent or something that will withstand 160-mile-an-hour winds for an antenna.
Well, we are working on something. I'm the vice president of the Northern Cal DX Foundation, and we have financial resources we've built up from donations for over a number of years, and there are right now no dxpeditions going on, so we haven't been granting much money, but we've been investing in some technology to help this situation. One of them is this thing called radio in a box, RIB, where you have a large, waterproof box, and inside is your flex radio, your amplifier, power supplies, control systems, antenna tuners, everything that you instead of an operator and a tent and the radio, you just put the radio on the island, and the operator sits on the boat and doesn't have to live in a tent and doesn't have to be shuttled to and from the island. And all radio operations occur from radios on shore. So it's a legitimate QSO, but you have substantially reduced logistics. The number of people you got to put on the island is quite a bit less. So that's some technology we're working on, which would work fine for a place like South Sandwich, where you're just not going to get on and off the island easily, and you can reduce the number of people on the island and still have the presence of all these operators by having them operate the equipment remotely from the boat. It's going to be rolling out here going forward.
Yeah, I know a lot. There's several remote sites now where you can just do it over the internet and make HF contacts and stuff. So that's a great idea.
Yeah, and it really reduce the number of people we need to bring on trips.
Yeah.
My wife and I were on a cruise when we stopped at the Falkland Islands in February, middle of summer. It was the coldest damn place we'd been in a long time. So
Yeah, I
you've
know.
explained why it's so cold down there.
Yep, it's not like here in Phoenix.
Had another question. What is one thing you wish you had known before going on this dxpedition or done differently?
Wow.
Or is there several?
I don't know where to start. Yeah, goodness. Okay, so I had planned to retire in the in 2015 in December, and I had scheduled this trip for January, and so it was going to be my big gala post-retirement, big blast kind of thing, and I put up my notice. They scheduled the your retirement party, and all things are going along, and then I got a phone call from some stupid vice president in one of the divisions of General Dynamics who said, "Why the hell are we letting some senior systems RF engineer go out the door when we need them like crazy up here in Massachusetts?" And so I listened to his siren song, and I said, you know what, I always wanted to work on boats, so let me fly up there and see what you guys got, and let me see what I could do. And so I looked like I could really help them a lot. And so, but I had to figure out, well, how do I continue working and have this 6-week trip? And they say, oh, we'll just work it through HR and blah, blah, blah. And so got everything all lined up. I worked out the routine. I went up there and worked like crazy out of a suitcase for a month or two. And then I went on this trip to the island. I come back home. Turns out while I was gone, they had fired me. And I was so pissed off that I retired that day when I learned that I had retired. And I called my local section secretary, and I said, is that cake still in the freezer? Let's go. And so I wish I had not done that, because it was just months of insanity. And even the people back here in Phoenix who were ready for me to retire, and then it didn't have anything to do with it, so they could not believe that someone, and it turns out they didn't really need me, but they needed to show their customer that they did something. And so the something they did was to get me, the body, the name, the prestige, to show that, yep, they're putting our best faces on the problem. And the customer said, oh, that's cool. And then the guy said, no, don't need him anymore, fired him. So it put a bad taste in my mouth about retiring. I'd rather have happier thoughts about the workplace, but it just was a huge pain in the ass. If you plan something like this after your retirement, go through retirement. Don't stutter like I did. That was dumb.
Well, it happens at a lot of big companies, unfortunately. It's an unfortunate thing of big business.
Yeah.
When you kind of get screwed. Had one comment that says they think a dxpedition to the Caribbean where you stay in a house with a tall towers, sip cool drinks, eat in a restaurant sounds good to them. That's what we should try.
That's what I mostly do. Most of my other operations are to existing ham shacks. Those are easy, what they call fly in, fly out.
Yeah.
You just book a flight, and work with the owner of the station, find a room to stay nearby or whatever, and you use an existing station. That's what you want to do. There are a lot of stations like that in the Caribbean, Central America, there are a few. But when you get to the rare ones, there's nobody there. Anything in the top 100, there's probably not somebody there.
So I have a question. You use generators, so that means you have to take fuel with you as well, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Lots and lots of fuel. It was all diesel, because you don't want to be hauling gasoline on a board of. And diesel generators are really ugly things. They have issues, wet stacking and
yep,
and bubbles and all that crap. It's just a pain. But what you got to do. Yeah, you don't want to be a sailing bomb going out in the ocean.
Now that's the way you go to the Caribbean. We'll just take some solar panels. We'll be good to go.
Just plug into the wall outlet.
Oh, that's true too. So does anybody else have any other questions for Ned?
Okay, well, it was good to meet you all, and keep working to get back to your real meetings. Zoom is, I'm sure we're all getting a little tired of Zoom.
Yeah, we are. I'm hoping that the next time, well, at some point, Zoom's gonna be nothing more than for remote presenters to come in and present to us. So
It is also good for people who can't get out. I know
Yeah.
a lot of people have health concerns, and it really does open up. And you're gonna be probably living with hybrid from here on out. It's probably gonna be like, half and half.
Yeah, well,
for a while.
and I forgot to ask you in the beginning, you don't care if we recorded this and do whatever. Okay.
No,
So that's the other thing is we record our meetings as well. So folks who can't attend can watch them and things like that. And
that's good. Yeah, I have not had this presentation recorded, so others may be interested in it. So
if you'd like a copy of it, probably be on YouTube at some point.
if you just give me the link and I can send it to other people who want to see it.
We'll do
That'd be
so.
great.
Brian,
All right, guys.
our editor's here, so he can do that as well. So great presentation. Thanks again, Ed. We appreciate it.
All right.
Take care, and 73, sir.
73, you guys. See you in the pilots.
And at one point, everybody, we did have enough people, but unfortunately people dropped. So we're still going to do a vote for next month. So I would ask that if you're here, talk to your fellow club members, see if they can attend next month's meeting, and we can get the voting out of the way at the beginning of the October meeting. I don't even remember who's presenting in October. I have to look at our list, but I think it's ATV, or is that November? I forget, but keep an eye out for that. You'll get an email from me as well, a copy of the bylaws again, and some other information coming down the pipe as far as bee cares and stuff like that as well. So thank you, everyone. I do appreciate you attending. It was a great presentation. Remember, Saturday is the picnic for NCART. So if you want to go up there and eat some of Joe's food, he's ready to serve it to you. So thank you, everyone.
Before you go.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Dick.
I see that you got at least 39 members. You count.
I got 29 total, but we have some folks that aren't paid up members, and we have folks that are families. So we don't quite hit it.
Out of 39?
29. We only have 29. We only have 29, Dick. There's only 29. So
5.
Yeah, Pat's been keeping an eye on it for me. So we'll do it in October. I'll try to get more people to attend. Talk to your fellow club members. If you talk to them, remind them about the meeting. Hop on here and we'll get it out of the way first thing in October and try to get this thing taken care of. So again, thank you, everyone. Anybody got any questions before we wrap it up this evening? All right. Well, thank you, everybody. 73, everyone. Enjoy. We'll talk to you on the air.
Thank you. See you guys.
Night.
Serious 160 guy. And he built an 8-circle, 160-meter antenna. It's 8 135-foot tall towers in a circle of 450-foot diameter, 36,000 foot of radials under it. Just finished building it and he passed away.
Oh.
And his family asked me and this other guy if we wouldn't mind keeping that station on the air in his legacy. And we decided, well, we'll take one for the team and put that on the air. And we've in the last 5 years, we've turned it into a big time contest station. It's evolving. And I just got finished yesterday installing a 6-meter moon bounce antenna out at the site. It's amazing. It's going to be really something completely remote. There is no other 6-meter EME remote antenna system in the world. So, and now I know now why. It's
a lot of work, huh?
A lot of work. And it's the second time I built it and got it running in January this year. And the antenna, I had a failure with the motor and the antenna fell. And I had to work on a new motor, bigger, and rebuild the whole array. So built it twice in 1 year. Again, first time I know anybody that's ever built two EME antennas in the same year.
So you do an article for any of the magazines?
Yeah, I do a lot of crazy things, and I get asked a lot to write articles, and I say, well, I don't know anybody else is going to do this. Why am I writing it for anybody? but I will talk about the experience and how to maybe how to plan and execute projects, big projects, where you're using stuff that nobody's ever done before, like this as-L rotor system for this array. It uses these slew drive motors from China that are used in the solar industries, and no documentation. They're incredible things, but you got to import them, and there's nobody you can talk to back there for technical help. So you're really out on your own. And I had to modify them a bit to put in limit switches and a bunch of stuff. But it's a fun project. I mean, you know, as long as you can afford it. Unfortunately, I have a sugar daddy who wants to get on 16-year moonbound, and I can do that kind of thing. So he pays and I bill. So it's kind of a cool situation.
So how big's the array?
It's 4 6-element Yagis. The cross boom is 30-foot Roan 25 tower. The risers are 20-foot 4-inch thick wall aluminum tubes. So in the center of the array is at 26 feet. So big thing. Really big thing.
That's one thing we like about the hobby. There's always something new to learn, always something new to do.
Oh yeah.
And you can do anything that you put your mind to, and worst case scenario, it doesn't work. Best case scenario, it does work.
Yep.
If it doesn't work, you go and try something else and make it till it does work.
Yep. That's correct. Let's see if I can do this.
That's why I like the hobby.
Let me see if I can do this.
Oh, no, you're still co-host. So you got stuff. Oh, there you
Are
go.
you seeing the array?
Oh, there you go.
Oh, wow.
That is nice.
Yeah, that is nice.
Yeah. That's real ham radio.
Yep.
That's the expensive ham radio.
It's not cheap.
Yeah. Let's say that's the stuff most of us can't afford.
That's
No.
That's the type of array you would expect a government agency to put up.
Oh yeah. Well, I used to work on government contracts, so I worked on, you know, nationwide communication systems. I know about big projects.
Yeah.
And this was, what's neat about this is that I had no boss.
The best kind of project.
That's the best kind of project. I recommend that highly to all of you, is to find a job where you have no boss.
Yeah.
So what kind of transmitter receiver are you using on that?
Using the it's brand new Flex radio, partnered with Ranco 403A from Montenegro.
Okay.
And added a power amplifier, their Power Genius product line, to Flex's offering. And the Power Genius amplifier is the one I'm using, and it's an incredible thing. It loafs really literally at 1500 out all day long. So it's quite a thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
So do you have somebody that's your structural engineer, or do you just guess at the strength?
Okay, so the last one fell over, and so I did an analysis, figured out what failed, and this new in design is at least 4 times stronger. So hopefully I overshot, but if I didn't, anything bigger than this will not fit on that tower. So this is the last. If this doesn't work, I'll cover that with dirt and move on, put a gravestone over it and move on. But what you see in the background there are some of the towers, some of the 135-foot towers in the 8 circle. So it's lots of antennas out there, lots and lots and lots.
So you say it's totally remote. Is there a local club that's offering it to their members, or who's got access to it?
It's me and this my friend KY7M. We build it, we run it. We have really only 4 members in it, and we bring in hired guns for contests. Okay. But it's not a club. It's not really a club thing. Although we formed a club just to give it, to create bank accounts and that, so we can pool money and stuff and get insurance and all these other things. But it's really not a club asset. Yeah, it's kind of a hard thing. If a club has a lot of assets, it gets to be a problem on how do you know who maintains it, who owns it, what do you do with it when the club disbands? It's just lots of complexities when you get tied in with hardware. So the way we work this is that everything that's out there is going to land in a pile. And if you want it, when we're all done, you can go,
Go get it.
barter with your friends and take whatever you want when we're done with this. But we're currently have a 5-year lease out at the site. And my big hope is that ham radio lasts that long.
By my
and,
way, it will. I'm
yeah.
trying.
Yeah.
I'm trying like hell.
Yep.
You can ask any club member here as
Oh,
club
yeah.
president. That's one of my goals is to, I feel I've already got the club median age down a little bit because I'm one of the
Yeah.
younger members myself and I'm 50.
Yeah.
So, and I keep trying to bring in younger folks. So I think we can do it. We just got to put a little work and effort behind it and figure out a way to how to get them behind their cell phones and their video games and incorporate that into ham
Yeah.
radio.
I really wish we could start bringing ham radio back into the high schools. One of the things I was interested in when I was in high school in Phoenix was amateur radio, and I was lucky. My high school did have a ham radio club, and we did have a ham station. He is currently our sponsor is Silent Key now, and his call sign's been reassigned. The club station's no longer there, but it was one of the things that encouraged me to become a ham, even though it took me 30 some odd years to do it.
Yeah.
Well, Berthoud High School, I think, still has a ham club. And one of the guys out of Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club helps with that. But yeah,
those ham clubs last as long as there's at least one teacher that has the drive.
Yeah.
It takes somebody in the organization. I know there's a grade school across Scottsdale Road from me that was very much into amateur radio. They had a satellite station. They hosted a session with the orbiting, space station. And then the gal who ran all that moved on to another school, and it just kind of vaporized. So it takes somebody to a magnet to make that all happen.
Yeah.
And so that's that's why the league is trying to train the teachers to see if they can get that would be the way to get more activity in schools, is to get at least one teacher in a school to host a club or some after school thing for students.
Another way to do it, I would imagine, is get involved with, find somebody who's involved with scouting somewhere along the line, and encourage the Boy or Girl Scouts to do it, because I know the Boy Scouts have a merit badge for ham radio.
Yeah, they do.
If you can get them to do that, maybe you can get them to get interested enough to actually go out and get their license and stay active.
Yeah.
Actually, the jamboree's coming up October something is a jamboree for the Boy Scouts. I think Girl Scouts, all Scouts are involved with the jamboree this year, at least the last I looked on the website. So hopefully get more involved. And I've talked to a couple of Girl Scout troops around here to see if they'd like a presentation or something from us. So I'm getting, when I get an opportunity on top of my full-time job and family and everything else, I go out and try to do what I can to help the hobby.
I have another idea, and it actually goes along with Races and Aries. There's an organization actually nationwide, but I know Longmont has a squadron, Civil Air Patrol.
Yep.
They have an emergency services. In fact, their primary function is emergency services.
Yeah.
And although the Longmont squadron is a cadet squadron, one of their functions is communications and get them in back. In fact, I actually was thinking about joining that organization, and I'd already talked to the squadron commander. And when he heard that I was working on getting and this was before I got licensed, when he heard I was working on getting my technician license, he said, "Good." He said, "Once you get your license, you can be our incident response officer and get into communications."
There you go.
We never went any further than that. I guess they're still in a virtual mode as well because of COVID, so I wasn't able to really pursue it because they require that you attend at least one meeting,
right,
before pursuing. I've got the paperwork, and I used to belong to that organization, so getting back into it wouldn't be that difficult.
No, go for it.
Yeah. Good idea.
Yeah.
In fact, I was just talking to our Hamfest committee chair this afternoon. We were at the fairgrounds this afternoon, and we are trying to think of an idea to do some get on the air stations for our Hamfest this year and get people to come up and try to make calls and things like that, where we could put it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because the fairgrounds is looking to do a little bit of renovation, and are looking for people's ideas. So
Yeah. Oh, are we going to do an actual Hamfest this year, or is COVID going to kind of put a damper on it again?
I have told our Hamfest committee chair, Mr. Dick, to move ahead, and he is moving ahead as if we're having it. Worst case scenario, we have to cancel it. But as of right now, there's events going on in November. Granted, it's the fairgrounds being in Boulder County, and Boulder County rules saying you have to wear your mask, so they're requiring masks in the buildings. How much they're going to enforce it, that was a discussion that came up at our meeting today. They're like, we'll enforce as much as we can, but people are going to be people. So there's still events going on. So the way I look at it, I tell them keep planning it. So as of right now, we're still looking at April next year.
Okay.
So with that said, anybody that's on here that wants to help Dick Page get this going, contact him. He can use the help.
I'll try to. I mean, I don't know my schedule's like. It's been crazy. My wife and I both have medical appointments, and work's been crazy. But I'll, if I get a chance, I'll find him in the membership roster, and I'll let him know I'm interested in helping him. See what I can do.
The biggest Hamfest in Arizona is at a state campground, fairground, outside. Everybody pitches their little pop-up tents, and it's a big event, the biggest in the state, I believe. The downside is there's no AC power, so you have, unless the individual brings his own with.
Right. We've talked about doing something like that
Is
as
that the
well.
one? Yeah, is that the one that used to be up in Flagstaff that they moved out west or
Yeah,
west
to Williams.
of Flagstaff?
Yeah, it's in Williams.
Yeah,
Right.
we used to go all of the time when it was in Flagstaff, and we had a pretty good crew out of Vegas that showed up, and that was the best place for Hamfest.
Yeah. Well, the price got really goofy. They just priced themselves out of the market. We couldn't afford to go there anymore.
So
yeah, Williams is pretty dusty. It's where storms go to die.
Yeah.
But the point is, it's maybe dodges some COVID issues by being outside.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
All right, thank you everybody for putting your call signs in. If you haven't put your call sign in with your name, please do so. Uh-oh, Joe's here too. Good evening, Joe. He's got his end cart as his logo. He's pulling a Chuck. For those of you who don't know, Joe is a member of our club, but I'm also a member of his. He's the board president for Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club up in Fort Collins. So
yeah,
we've been working really close together on stuff. So there he is.
Ooh.
We're just talking good about you, Joe.
Oh, you're the first one today who's talking good about me. How you doing, guys?
Good.
Pretty good, Joe. How's it going?
Moving right along.
I hear you.
One meeting to another.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got that right. Same boat today.
Y'all coming to our picnic, right? We got lots of food. I just bought it.
I'll be there.
When is it?
Saturday.
Oh boy. I think my wife, I wish I could, but I think my wife has to work.
I'll send out another invite again this week as a reminder tomorrow. So
yeah, I'm trying
I'll
to
bring
think. 5830. What is it?
5830 something in Fort Collins.
Yeah, let me look it up here. Let's see.
Oh yeah, if you want to mention it, by all means, I'd be more than happy to let you do that.
Yeah, let me see.
I don't mind sharing the wealth.
Yeah.
I'm not a total Zoom hog.
I am.
Yeah.
Let me see. Come on up here. There you go.
I gotta send out another email tomorrow anyways, because I've been requested by another organization to send out some marketing stuff to help them out as well. So
58 21 South Lamay, Fort Collins.
Oh, okay.
It's actually Fossil Creek Park, if you're familiar with that.
Yeah, I am actually. My sister lives in Fort Collins and actually used to work at Poudre Valley Hospital. So I know that area.
There you go.
Yep. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it though. I think my wife has to work and she's got the car. So
Well, Chuck, go pick him up.
I'll be doing something else Saturday morning prior to that.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
I gotta verify that later.
yeah.
You better, it's nice and early, I hope, Chuck, or did you change your mind?
No, I'm still planning on going with you. We got to talk about it, and
Okay.
finalize it.
No, I'm going on, we're gonna pick up the equipment on Friday.
Okay.
And it looks like we can get some of it down to the classroom. So maybe it won't be early as on Saturday, but John was, it'll probably be 5:30.
You let
But
me
I told
know.
him that so I just got to figure, I think it's till 11 and then we can, I told him that I won't be able to help him tear it down because we got to go to Fort Collins.
Yeah.
Mark, you coming?
I am. Yeah, it's Ham University that day, so I'm going to try to do that in the morning, and I'm going to try to prod Doug into coming up too. So
Is that
we'll
one
see how that
publicized,
goes.
Mark? Is that one for
Yes.
Saturday publicized? Because I didn't see it on the website. That's what I was asking. The first one I saw on there was, I thought was like on the 10th of October.
Well, I better go look. I'm pretty sure it's Saturday because I'm planning on going.
I haven't seen
Let's see.
I haven't seen anything from RM Ham in a while.
Check out their website. They got the schedule out there.
Yeah.
I thought the first one I saw on there was like 10/9 or something, and there was one on
Yeah.
10/20.
Okay.
And I was going to ask you about that, Mark, because I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I think you're right, because I know one of the guys, in fact, I thought I'd sign up for some classes too. I just have been buried with Aries.
Aries. I'll be there tomorrow, Joe.
What's tomorrow?
The park.
Tomorrow is
training.
Tomorrow is Thursday. Oh,
Right.
tomorrow, that's right. We are going to be.
Yeah. Loveland. Glad I
My
can
bar,
remind you.
my bar bill's high this month.
Well, I'm gonna have to look because you're right, but I thought it was this.
Well, let me know.
Yeah.
They're not doing any pre-recording stuff, are they?
No, I don't think so.
I mean, I don't mind getting up at 5:30 in the morning, but if I could sleep till 8, that works too.
Yeah, unless something. I'm gonna take a look at the schedule.
Okay, well, take a look at it and find out. Pat, where are we at? I think we're still short people, aren't we? Or no, I'm miscounting. I got more people than I thought here.